So for me, we have to turn the whole model around and strengthen communities and have smaller businesses. That way you're keeping money in local people's pockets, and then they spend that locally and on their children, and their children go on and benefit and thrive, and the money splashes around that community more, it's spent in more local shops, and eventually it's a longer term plan, as you say, but eventually everyone benefits when you've got smaller local businesses where the money stays in that area and the jobs of all levels are given to local people.
Welcome back to Small Business Voices Wales, the podcast that shine the light on small businesses, the kind that hold up local communities and the backbone of our economy. I'm your host, Frank, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Kim, and we are very excited to have a very special guest today, Mary Arthur, someone who is brewing up a storm in Wales with her sustainable, innovative approach to tea. So, Mary Boreda, welcome, Croissant. Could you please tell us a little bit about your journey, how your journey began?
Yes, certainly, Boreda. I worked in China for a while, and obviously teas are very popular in China, and health teas and slimming teas and teas with benefits. So a few years later I set up a health spa in Cardiff, and I used to import health teas to the health spa, and they were really popular. So we did that for a few years. And then following Brexit, I was thinking that if we could grow the ingredients for these teas locally, we would have a home-grown market that was so large in China. So it could be a new income stream and diversity for local growers, and then the profits could stay in the communities. So trying to set up a sustainable business model around growing and supplying local ingredients for health teas.
All right, that's very good. And where the inspiration came from with the name Tetrim Teas?
So I moved back home because I wanted it to be in the village I was brought up in and born in. And it's a very deprived village in West Wales, in Carmarthenshire. So I moved back home to Trimsaran, and I wanted the words of the village or the county in the name of the tea. So it became Te, which is Welsh for tea, Tetrim Teas for Trimsaran. So it's very rooted in the community. And from the very beginning, we worked with the community on not just developing the teas because they were part of clinical trials and taste testing, but we've also set up community groups as well. So it's very much centred in the village and in the county of Carmarthenshire as well. And the name is a bit of a hook.
So can you tell us a bit more about that, because I think it's very clear that Wales is, really special to you in everything that you're doing and really holds a special place in your heart and in your businesses. So can you tell us about, just that link with Wales as a nation to your business?
I've always been passionate about keeping money in Wales because for a long time we generate money here, but in taxation and other ways and barren formulas, it flows out to the country, so it keeps us poor with the current system we have. So I've always been passionate about buying local, even before it became more trendy. And for me, I wanted to set up a model where the profits stay local, but we also try to educate people as well about local supply chains. And so we don't just buy local, we try to work in partnership with the local suppliers and to get that message out there. Because when you buy in any company that's headquartered out of Wales, the tax doesn't return to us. It's not that simple, but basically we need to be more aware of where we're spending our money. So there was a bit of a model in Preston where they looked at keeping the Preston pound in Preston. And I'm really keen on keeping the Carmarthenshire pound in Carmarthenshire and the Welsh pound in Wales. So for me, as much of the ingredients and skills, sometimes we forget about consultancies and skills, and public bodies still buy services out of Wales when there are people in Wales that can't deliver those services. So even designers and web advisors and consultants and packaging, and so making sure it's sustainable, but also making sure that it's from Wales. So that model is part of building up a stronger Wales for me.
And I think not only that, it's also a really lovely story, right? You know, at the end of the day, I think we like products that we can connect to in one way or another. So I think that's also, you know, a really strong positive about the brand that Tetrim actually is.
Yeah, and a big part of it is in Carmarthenshire especially, but in West Wales and rural Wales, it's a hugely agricultural environment, huge farming communities. And, you know, it's in a bit of a state of flux at the moment with legislation, with what's happening to the farming sector, with, you know, smaller farms having to be sold on and with people coming in and buying them and changing the makeup of the county and the country. And so for me, it's about enabling local farmers and growers to have diversity in, you know, maybe growing new products and like new, maybe tea. Tea is a hugely valuable ingredient. There's a lot of money to be made. And then there's other ingredients as well that I'm looking to buy my rhubarb root from Anglesey, bought the mushrooms from Gwynedd in the beginning. Then we partnered with that company, and now we've got 3 mushroom growing units around Wales. So for me, it's recognising the value that the place you live in has to offer and working with that to try and strengthen it in any way you can.
So I've seen you, and I have to say that your love for Wales, I think, is a little bit contagious. I think I started to love Wales and the place I live more after meeting you and seeing how you're very passionate about Wales and your local community. And is is there anything, an element of saying, for example, the lack of jobs in your local community in Trimsaran that led you to wanting to create more businesses locally, creating jobs locally?
Yeah, I think what happens when a country or a county becomes deprived, the system fails it. So the transport, for example, in our village doesn't enable people without cars to work because you know, that people say there's no excuses, but when the whole society is a challenge in the first place, it's harder. People can get jobs, but you know, the transport infrastructure isn't there to support people who want to work shifts, for example. You need cars to get a car, you need money and jobs, and it's this vicious cycle on what kind of jobs are available, and there's a lot of low wage jobs. So it's about bringing those quality jobs out of the city centres and out of the big towns into communities so that people can access work on their doorstep and build a stronger environment for, you know, their children and everything locally, to show children that there are jobs locally, you know, linking them to their with our business, for example. We work with the eco committees to show them how they grow tea, so they see how to grow food where their food comes from, that there's local jobs, and there's also jobs associated with the Welsh language, because we have a lot of in our village, a lot of people moving into the village from England, and in the school then you've got Welsh and English speakers in a Welsh school, which dilutes the Welsh in the classroom. So what we've tried doing is creating a group for some of the new people to the village to come together and have some support and to hear the Welsh language. So we're not like training them or teaching them. We just want to make people understand more about the language and have access to it. So there's not that fear. So hopefully then they'll go on and support their children to learn Welsh and hopefully thrive in Welsh and go on and do better than if they felt it was a language that was being forced on them. So I think there's that, you know, model where to just look at jobs, you have to look at the whole system and improve the whole system, from transport to attitude to culture, and bringing people together. Say, we're all living here now, you know, let's all do the best for the village, because if the community thrives, individuals thrive. You know, one of the most selfish things you can do is to be selfless and help your community, because you all benefit at the end of the day. And it's trying to get everyone to understand, let's work together here. Let's get, you know, these new people into the village. They're living here now. Let's get them understanding our culture and part of our culture, and get their children absorbed in our culture and helping them to thrive in the Welsh language as they go forward.
We can say that that's the best way of creating long-lasting impact in the community. Like, that's how you create wealth, instead of having a big chain coming and opening a warehouse in Carmarthenshire.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we've gone wrong as a nation for a long time. we try to attract big businesses in. And what we get then is poverty wages. So the big jobs are very rarely local people. They're people who've come in, the profits leave the area. We don't get the profits. What we do get is the poverty wages. And people say, oh, there's all these jobs. And it's just like, but people are not having improved lifestyles because of it, because they're still living in poverty. So for me, we have to turn the whole model around and strengthen communities and have smaller businesses giving work locally, maybe smaller numbers of jobs, but that way you're keeping money in local people's pockets. And then they spend that locally and on their children, and their children go on and benefit and thrive. And the money splashes around their community more, it goes spent in more local shops. And eventually, it's a longer term plan, as you say, but eventually everyone benefits when you've got smaller local businesses where the money stays in that area and the jobs of all levels are given to local people.
Right now, what is the attitude towards small businesses?
I think in Wales, historically, we haven't had that much belief in ourselves. There's ambition, but we don't really believe we can do it. So we've accepted these big industries that come in and taking the jobs. And I think we need more belief in ourselves now as individuals and as businesses and as a nation, that we have the same ability as everyone else in the world and we can do whatever anyone else can do. And I suppose, the tea business is only small, but I am really ambitious. And the village and the county is behind me and supporting me. But at the same time, it's, the belief may not be there that we will be as big as I hope we will be. Because I don't want to be big in terms of making money for the business. I want to be big in terms of giving jobs to people and buying more products from local people and getting the name and the money back in the county. So I want it to be a success, but not in a commercial success where the money stays at the top of the business. I want that money for, the county and for Wales, and the money to go back through the supply chain to local growers. So for me, I think it's having that belief in ourselves. So local businesses are seen as a needed thing, but not really something that can grow and contribute. And I think we need to change that perception.
We're coming up to my favorite segment, which is the tasting segment. So we've got a range of wonderful teas that you brought for us, Mary. Could you please walk us through each of them as we taste?
Yes, certainly. So the first one is the lion's mane mushroom that we grow ourselves with apple, Welsh heritage apple from Eryri, Snowdonia, and cinnamon with green tea. So you can sometimes taste the cinnamon coming through. I think it's quite like a Christmassy taste almost.
And smell.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the first thing that I got from it. It's very lovely.
We got so close with Mada Cymru that we now partner with them, and we've opened 3 mushroom growing units around Wales. So we've got one in Trimsaran in Carmarthenshire, one in Penparker in Aberystwyth, and one in Bethesda in North Wales, and 2 mushroom growers in each. So we grow our own lion's mane mushroom, and then we dry it and use it in our teas as well. So lion's mane mushroom is really good for the brain, memory, mental health, gut health. It's a very popular mushroom at the moment. It's going through a big trend.
So all your ingredients are actually sourced from Wales?
Yeah, well, all of our ingredients that are currently available in Wales, for example, the cinnamon isn't. But what we're doing with some ingredients, like with the chili ginger tea, we're working with local growers to see how we can grow chili and ginger locally without, for the sustainability side, without additional heat. So we're looking at heated hotbed. So Adam yn yr Ardd, he's quite a famous Welsh gardener. He's got a slot on some Welsh language programmes, and he's got he's very innovative and got a garden that he's willing for us to test things out on. So he's trialling growing ginger in different ways for us now, so we can identify the best way to grow ginger in our climate without using additional heat, and obviously then bringing in the energy consumption side of it. So sustainably growing local ingredients. So what we can't source in Wales, we either look at ways of growing them in Wales, or, for example, with the rhubarb root, we had a product in mind, and the main ingredient, which was senna, is not that sustainable, it's not that good for us longer term, and it's not available in Wales. So we did a genetic fingerprinting on the active properties of senna and matched them with plants that are indigenous or growing, very widely available in Wales. And we identified rhubarb root. The ingredients were there, but it's a byproduct as well. So there's a farm on Anglesey and Ysmôn that grow rhubarb, and every year when they cut the root in half to replant, they discard half the root. So we buy, it's almost like a waste product, but it's got so much benefits. So we chose rhubarb root for that reason. And then what we did to make sure that it had the same, or if not better, benefits than the original blend we were trying to develop, we did clinical trials on 54 people over 21 days. The university did it as an independent clinical trial. And it showed us that the rhubarb root had more benefits for the participants that had that tea than the others, in terms of cholesterol significantly reduced after 21 days. And it supported the gut bacteria, whereas the senna disrupted the gut bacteria. So there was a lot of positives that give us the belief that the rhubarb root was not just as good as the version we wanted, but far surpassed it. So when we're looking at ingredients, we're also making sure the taste is there and the health benefits are really there as well.
So on the taste, I have to say that this one, the apple and cinnamon, is my favorite one.
Yeah, I've tried the rest.
I've tried it before, so it has it's very smooth on the tongue, and yeah, really nice. I like the blend.
It's the sweetest one, I think, in terms of our range so far.
So what do we have next then?
So next is the original tea that we launched with the rhubarb root. So we've got rhubarb root and honeysuckle, hawthorn berry. We've got green tea, and then a number of other ingredients as well that all have their own individual health benefits, but combined they complement each other. So that is focused on, originally it was focused on weight loss, but we've gone past that, and what we're looking at now is health associated with reduced fat in the lipids. So it reduces fat in the lipids, in the bloods, reduces cholesterol, and it helps with digestion. And that was the clinical results, but then the anecdotal results from the clinical trial showed that it helped with bloating and gassiness, and it's just that whole digestion process. So that focuses on basically getting you cleaner and healthier from the inside.
Yeah.
And what's the best time to be drinking?
That one, the rhubarb root, is the evening tea. So the clinical trials show 1 cup a day after your last meal of the day. So I have it in bed every night. The last thing I do is make my rhubarb root tea, I go to bed and I have it in bed every night. And that is a routine that you get into, and it's part of like winding down when we try to encourage people to inhale the aromas as it brews, and part of that winding down after a busy day. But also what I find, and what a lot of our regular customers find, is when you have a break, so you've stopped taking it for a few days, you kind of feel less clean. You feel a bit, one person did say after the clinical trials, where can I get the rhubarb tea from? I feel dirty on the inside now. It just makes you feel so clean and fresh.
So cleansing.
Very cleansing.
I think I can confirm that. I think I have the rhubarb tea at home. So after a long day, I'll sit down in the living room, trying to calm down, and I'll have my rhubarb tea also before going to sleep. And I think I'll have a good sleep, and I will wake up feeling refreshed and more energized. So would definitely recommend that for people who are struggling to sleep.
Yeah, in the clinical trials as well, people reported that it did help with sleep as well. So I find that as well.
Yeah.
And then the next tea is the spring hedgerow tea, Gwrych y Gwanwyn. And we launched that in this spring, so in March. And what this is about is trying to have a seasonal drink to show people, it's important to eat and drink what's in season. And this is made from plants that grow around hedgerow in Wales during springtime.
Smells and tastes a bit like mint.
Yes.
So there's mint, there's mint and nettle.
Okay.
And dandelion flower.
So it's okay. It's a real blend.
Yes, and honeysuckle, and it's got. We had a range of about 20, 25 ingredients that we were looking at that grow in the hedgerow around springtime, And it took us a while to develop the blend because there's so many, we were looking at blackberry leaves and myrtle berries, but we landed on this blend because the flavours complemented each other and tastes like the springtime in a way. It reminds me of Welsh springtime, the wet greenness of spring. And then the health benefits also complement each other, with the cleansing and good for the kidneys and the liver. So it's a bit of that spring, fresh start, cleansing kind of tea, all in a cup.
Sustainability feels like a really core part of your business. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so even down to the packaging. So we went for a high brand. So even the boxes, they don't have glue. So they're specifically folded to say strong without any glue. So they're all compostable as well. And when we won the Great Taste Award for our chili, cinnamon and cardamom, chili, ginger and cardamom lion's mane tea, we had the Great Taste Award stickers, but they're not compostable. So we can't put them in our packaging because it makes our packaging not compostable. So we're working with the Great Taste Awards now to get compostable stickers as well.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
So could this be a replacement for, caffeine or coffee? Because I think we all know it's almost like a drug, right? Especially coffee with a lot of people. So could this potentially be that?
So every tea has got green tea in it with a small amount of caffeine, but the green tea itself, again, we've done research on that, and Aberystwyth University have looked at the active properties in the green tea we get from Dartmoor. And again, that's got a lot of health benefits in itself. So even though there is a small amount of caffeine in each one, the benefits of the green tea are really strong and add to the whole mix as well. So it reduces caffeine by a lot. But again, it's that tea gives it the thickness more than making it too watery. So it's important to have that in the blends we have so far.
So do you have a target demographic for your product, or it's anyone?
Well, we wanted to benefit communities, but we've gone high end with the tea because we didn't want to compromise on quality. So, doing sustainability well can cost more, but it's better for the longer term. So I think it'll cost less in the longer term, and it costs the environment and everything less in the longer term. But there's more upfront costs, for example, our packaging. We had to have them designed specifically for our needs so that we didn't have to use chemicals or glues. But again, with the green tea, we buy a green tea from the UK and it's very expensive. It's, the market value of green tea in the UK is £2,000 a kilogram. So we have partnerships with our tea growers and we have a reduced fee, but it's still expensive. So our tea is expensive to make and it's expensive to buy. So we're aiming at the high end market, and then hopefully, that money then will come down into the communities. We're already setting up community groups and profit sharing models. So each one of the mushroom growing units, 10% of the profit from each one goes into the communities they're in. So the demographic is people, I suppose, who are aware of the health benefits of local ingredients and are aware of what benefits they're looking for. And affordability is another thing that, it's a more high-end customer because we can't make the tea at the moment at a cheaper price. But the longer-term ambition is that when the business is growing and in a better position, that we can give it for free. I don't want to discount it. I don't want to dilute the brand. It's a high-end brand. But we give it free to community groups at the moment. So we offer a tea group and then we give it to another few different groups that happen. There's one in Burns in Kidwelly and one in Buryport. So we give our teas to them for their own groups. So I'd rather subsidise communities with free teas to bring health and benefits that way while keeping the brand and the tea high-end.
But I think, again, back to the sustainability point, as we're moving towards more people becoming eco-conscious, I think more people are being a lot more aware of how they buy, how they use their money, right? And I think with time, there will be more support for businesses like yours, which tick all those, local, sustainable, people-focused, all of those elements. I think as not only a nation, generally, people are just being more drawn towards that.
But I think that's the thing, when local product, better quality, and also long-lasting impact in the community and everybody benefit from it. And I think it's something that people need to be aware of it so that they actually make a conscious purchase to know that this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm doing for the local community and everyone will benefit from it.
Exactly. And I think it is about educating. And more people are becoming more switched on to buying local, especially since COVID and cost of living crisis, and it's about supporting your own high streets and supporting your own shops. I think more people have become aware of that. But I think we need to highlight other things like seasonality, which is why the spring hedgerow tea, it was important to us to do something seasonal to show people, in a way, we got to get back to the way our grandparents and great grandparents lived, buying local seasonal produce, because that's what our body needs at that time of year. So the next blend that we're developing, hopefully for next summer, is a summer blend, a summer flower blend. So we're looking at all the flowers that are available that might be a bit of a sweeter tea. We haven't gone down that route yet, but getting that people, and also to educate people that these flowers are edible. You know, we're walking past flowers in fields and hedgerows, and they are edible. And it's just about, we've got availability around us, the different food sources and health benefits, and it's just having the confidence to, something having been sprayed by chemicals, but having and that knowledge as well, connecting us back with nature.
Yeah. I think coming back to the tasting, the last one.
We haven't gone on.
So I think I have to change my mind on my favorite one because this one, I was actually feeling like coughing because the back of my throat was like itching. And as soon as I start drinking this one, it's gone away.
So this one is the lion's mane mushroom with ginger, chili and cardamom. And the ginger is very, it's got a lot of health benefits, but it's very strong.
Yeah.
And we dry the ginger and we juice it first. So we have started giving the ginger juice to people in the community for free because it's a byproduct. But then because it's got so much value in it, and we use obviously the dried pulp then in the tea, and that kick, I think, that you feel at the back of the throat. But the ginger juice now, we've gone on to develop a new company called YTR, which is Ymchwil Tetrim Research. Ymchwil is Welsh for research. So we've got Tetrim Teas, that is the tea producer, and then Ymchwil Tetrim Research is a company that looks at the research around it. And not just around the teas, but so ginger ingredient. We're looking at the benefits of ginger, and we're just doing a pilot on ginger juice versus spray dried ginger and different ways you can encapsulate the health benefits of ginger in different powders or juices to have different applications, maybe putting in cakes or putting in sachets to add to curries or stews or sauces, tomato sauce. So we're looking at the byproducts of what we make from the teas and spinning them out into new businesses as well.
I think that's what's quite nice about the business and everything that you're saying, because you are actually continuing to invest in development and especially, again, the health benefits more than anything, making sure that all of that is backed up and, you can make those claims confidently as well. So I think that's something that gives confidence as a consumer as well, right? If I'm thinking of why support that brand or that business, right? They are actually investing in, the work and the research around it, which is lovely to see.
Yeah, and half of our time and resources go into developing and the research that's involved and working with the university and local academics and then local growers. We kind of connect the growers with the academics to see if we could do things differently from growing and transporting to including them and processing them in different ways. So I think the innovation will always be a key part of our business going forward, and that link with academia does strengthen us. But the biggest challenge we've had as a business so far is we're not allowed to make health claims on products and packaging. We can do it for our own purposes. So I know that when I'm talking to you now, what I'm saying about the health benefits is true because it's backed up and there's a huge amount of research gone into every product. The first tea, the rhubarb root tea, took 2.5 years to develop before we launched it. And then every tea since then has had at least 12 months development time. But it's hard because you can't get that message across on your website and on the packaging because you're making claims about products that aren't on the GB list of approved foods, even though they're commonly known. Everyone knows the health benefits of green tea and of ginger, not so much rhubarb root, but we've proven that ourselves. But you're not allowed to make those claims on paper. So it's the hard thing then is how do you get the message across to people that you can trust in our product when you can't specifically say it. So it's important to get the message out by building up trust in your clientele, to getting podcasts like this where you've got an opportunity to talk about things, going out to food festivals and talking to people face to face, and then word spreads organically then by mouth and people recommend it to their friends. But it's a hard sell for a small business when you're not allowed to make those claims, and you see some big businesses making those claims and it does feel unfair, but we haven't got the resources to challenge regulation at this stage.
Yeah. So would you say for a small business, a food and drink business, focusing on health benefit, that's the most difficult thing to overcome?
I
like
think so.
The approval, yeah.
Yeah, it's been the biggest challenge that we've faced, and getting conflicting advice as well. So you've got food standards agencies and you've got your environmental health officer, and then you've got companies that can help you develop your messaging, very supportive companies. But it's hard to know where to land when you're actually going to print and you're paying for printing or packaging, and you think, if I get this wrong, it's an expensive mistake to make. So you're always erring on the side of caution, and then maybe underselling yourself really because you're not selling the benefits. It's a real difficult line to tread.
But it comes back to, again, your point of community, because that's what I'm thinking, it's other people that are going to do this for you. You might not be able to do it, but if I give a review, then, that's going to be something I've said, but it's not you who said it, even though you might have put it on your website, right? So I think that's even just a call to consumers, right? If we are supporting local, let's do it more than actually just buying. But things like reviews, like actually just commenting, or, those things also go a long way in people having confidence in products.
Yes, and I think that is happening because at the moment, our online sales, 80% of them are repeat. So they're regular buyers. We need to reach out to more new people, and that's the hard bit, but we're not finding it hard to retain our current customers because they're obviously feeling the benefit. They're starting on that journey and they feel the benefit. I think a lot of our new customers are coming from those customers, and sometimes I'll have an order from York and we haven't had an order from York before. And so, sometimes you reach out and say, how did you hear about us? And it's usually always through a friend who's tried your product, or my friend buys your tea all the time. So that's a strong and sustainable way of building up the business. It's slow, but I think it's strong foundations for a much more secure future.
So how do you feel about these programs on TV, like Dragon's Den, and like where people are going on TV and they're all talking about profit first and how they're going to get product into supermarkets? And how do you feel about that?
So I think I'm a bit extreme because one thing, I set it up as a not-for-profit, so we will never be investable. I don't want investment. I want community ownership, really. And when we've grown a little bit more, and I've always said from the beginning, we'll turn it into a cooperative, so the staff will own business, and that way the money will stay in the community because any profits we make will be reinvested into the people and our communities. So we're uninvestable from that respect. But also, whatever business I've set up different businesses. It's never been about the profits. It's been about success for me. Isn't about money. It's about the impact you have on people. So I set up a Welsh language nursery. I speak Welsh, but I wasn't brought up through the medium of Welsh. So I spent my whole life struggling to improve my Welsh. So I set up a Welsh language nursery to give the gift of bilingualism. And we've had over 1,000 children go through that nursery now. So it's about that success for me for that business, even though I'm not part of it anymore. I gifted that to the manager. Again, I don't want to make money from it. I had a really good manager who could competently run the business, and she now runs it. So for me, it's about the legacy. Is all of those children that will come through with the confidence of speaking Welsh that I never had. And then when I had a health spa, I set it up so that at the end of every month, if we had any money available, we would reinvest it into palliative care treatment. So that all of our therapists were trained in palliative care and were comfortable treating people who needed therapies that usually people are uncomfortable treating because they don't know if they're going to do more damage or good. So we had a team of staff that at the end of the month, we'd be like, whether we had £50 profit that month or £500 profit, we can do that much treatment in the community where they have to go out maybe because people can't come in to us. So success for me was never about what is in your bank balance at the end of the day. As long as you've got enough to survive, if you're doing your mission, which to me was affordable treatments where people feel the benefits, or, giving the Welsh language to a new generation, or making teas with real health benefits that will improve the health and well-being of the people who drink them, but also support the growers of Wales that, are going through a very difficult time at the moment. That is success to me.
But I think that's what is lacking maybe on our TVs. Maybe we should be showing that more so that people can be inspired, because right now people are only being shown how to become an apprentice with low sugar, or how to go to Dragon's Den and secure £1 million investment. So, but for Wales, for example, if we want to change or getting more money into people's pocket, because at the moment I think there's something like how many percent of children are living in poverty in Wales right now?
Well, and again, there's no real data on that, because there's so many accurate pieces of data missing, and I think the picture is far worse than we realise. And I think that will only come from bottom up wealth, so community wealth. And community wealth again isn't just about money; it's people being happy and healthy and having access, well-being, and having access to the foods they need to live a healthier life and the education they need to thrive. And that might not mean going to university. It's about what each individual needs to thrive. And success, like I said with the business, for individuals should be them achieving their potential, whatever that may be, and that's well-being.
In my first episode, I mentioned how when I wanted to set up a business like 15 years ago in Swansea, the local people that I was talking to, they were actually advising me not to, and telling me to leave Wales to go to big places like London, Manchester, where they thought that I would be successful there, because they thought that people won't buy my product. So for you, what do you think? What is the attitude towards small businesses that are just starting up?
I think things have shifted since then. I think COVID really brought home the importance of buying local. And I think even last week, with the cyber attack on the Co-op and Marks and Spencer's, and you go in and all the shelves are empty, people are becoming more aware that we need food security, and we need security not just of the food sector as well, but in Wales we need to have access to things. So when the big shops and people are becoming more aware that the money doesn't stay local with the big shops, but when things hit on a large scale, we've still got local businesses that can supply you with the foods or the drinks or the items that you're looking for. I think people are more supportive of small businesses now than they were 15 years ago for a number of reasons, including the cost of living. Sometimes they are more expensive, but I think people are happy to support local businesses because they know that profit stays in their community as well, or they might know people employed by that company. So I feel there's a shift in that attitude, and I think there are much more opportunities for getting support for small businesses in communities out of those big cities these days as well.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think that's a very good point. I think it's very good to know and to see that things are changing. I think people are getting more and more educated and taking that steps in terms of supporting local businesses.
I think it's just being more conscious. That's all.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot, especially about your journey and where you are now, but would be keen on hearing more on what's coming up for Tetrim Teas, next 5 years, what you have planned, what could we be, hearing in the next couple of years?
So I want to keep developing more teas. I mentioned the summer blend of flowers that we'll be looking at next, but I want to look at developing at least 1 or 2 new blends a year, but slowly building up the brand, not, creating teas for the sake of it. I want them to have real health benefits. But we're also doing a lot of innovation around the ingredients and sustainability. So a project we've just started working on, an Innovate UK project, is looking at the mycelium of the mushroom plants. So the mushroom company I was working with, Carmarthenshire, I am working with, they are looking at using spent mushroom blocks or waste and extracting the roots of the mushroom, the mycelium, and seeing if they can make products out of that. So there's innovation around the food and the waste, which both interests me, the whole circular economy agenda and how that can bring money back into the community. So getting involved in our own research projects, but other people's research projects, because we're a willing company and we're a good, flexible organisation. So developing more innovative products and looking at research and developing our own tea range further and getting into new markets is important for sustainability as well.
So, what advice would you give to someone who would like, an aspiring entrepreneur who would like to set up their own food business in Wales?
I think for me, you've got to have a passion for what you want to do. A lot of people want to set up a business because they want to get out of their job. But I think you've got to find something you're passionate about. So if you enjoy baking cakes, then develop a business around baking cakes because you'll always enjoy it and you'll be passionate about it. But as long as the passion is there for your product, I think your business has more likelihood of success because that passion will drive the business forward through the tough times. And there's always accountants, financial services, or, product designers or packaging people or marketing people to help with the things that you're not good at or you don't enjoy. But if passion for the product is the key thing, I think that will push you to success.
So be focused on what you do best and look for support for the thing that you don't know or you don't do best.
Yeah, and there is support out there. And if you don't know where to look, it doesn't take much. You can come to me or you and we could tell people where we found support.
We're now going into a quick fire round, so quick, snappy responses from you. First question, what makes Wales the best place to set up and run one's business?
Well, in the food and drink sector, I think our agricultural heritage, farming sector is right on our doorstep, so it's perfect for any food or drink business.
Why should people buy your product?
Because it's got genuine health benefits and we have researched things before we go to market with anything, and our quality ingredients are from local people, so it's putting money back into the local economy as well.
And lastly, you seem like a very busy woman. How do you recharge and decompress?
At the moment, I don't. I plan to. I need to write it into my calendar. I live by my calendar, so I need to write in some time to decompress. I do enjoy reading, but I don't. At the moment, it's very busy, but everybody needs to plan time to decompress and recharge their batteries because you just get burnt otherwise. It's very important.
So, Marie, thank you very much for coming today. It was a great pleasure to have you and to listen to your story.
Diolch yn fawr. Diolch I chi gyd.
We'll link in your website at the bottom of the podcast description so that people can find you and can actually buy the products and put in your social media tags as well and all of that. And we continue to wish you the best.
Thank you. Diolch yn fawr.
So until next time, keep supporting local and see you at the next episode of the Small Business Voices Wales. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr.